we are.
Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Once again. All
What you got for me?
right. Don't laugh.
But I'm supposed to laugh. The goal is to make me laugh.
Okay. All right. What is the best place to get an ice cream?
What? What is the best great place to get an ice cream?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sunday school.
Oh man. Oh. Wow.
What kind of cell phone did Delilah use?
What kind of cell phone did Delilah use?
Samsung.
Oh, come on. Come on. That one got me a little bit. That one got me.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Vida Live podcast, where we are welcoming community of believers who help people to know God, find freedom, and discover purpose. Listen, thank you everyone who is on watching live, and please subscribe to our YouTube and also X. Do me a favor, hit that like button, and the most important thing is share, share, share. I am your host, Deacon Lu. And with me today, once again, is Bishop Herson Gonzalez, our pastor. Hey.
Happy to be with you again, Deacon Elliot.
Come on.
Another beautiful week. We've got a great show today, man. Do me a favor, if you're on already, share this podcast. Let folks know that we're on. Man, you're going to hear from a guy that's been doing amazing work for over
35 years.
35 plus years.
Yeah.
His name is Dr. Scott Larson, and you're gonna be blessed by him today.
Listen, man, I encourage every one of you to share it. This is gonna be so impactful. You're gonna be amazed and impacted by this amazing ministry. This week, man, has been, Bishop, oh my God, this 21-day revival and these devotionals in the morning have been fire.
They sure
fire.
Have.
Listen, man, if you guys are not, come on, there's still time to get on. We still have 7 more days to be in this. We've been in it since day one, and let me tell you, oh man, God is doing something great, man. Revival is happening right now.
Yeah, if you're watching on your phone and you can do a screen grab that number. We've been on the phone 6:30 a.m. on our conference call line, and we've got about 15 people that are dedicated to helping lead this ministry. Each one of them has been leading, and man, each one of them has been so powerful. They've been bringing such a great devotion, so many amazing mornings that we've had, and we've really just been able to just ask God, look, we can't make revival happen, but we can reach the conditions spiritually that can bring forth a revival.
Absolutely.
We can be repentant. We can be seeking the face of God. We can do the things that we need to do to put the flesh away, really live for God and in the kingdom of heaven. And if we all do that, personal revival leads to community revival. And that's what we've been doing this last couple of weeks. Yeah. And so if you can, please join us. We've had a good number of people joining us. I think the top number we had was 38. My goal was to get 50 people on the line. And I'm still believing we can
still do it. We can still
do it. We got another week.
That's right. And listen, don't miss out on Wednesday nights. We are having this amazing Bible study on kingdom finance. Listen, if you're invested in the kingdom, you will have no needs. Your needs will be met. you will be everything you have. God will increase when your mindset is on kingdom finance, when your mindset
That's
is
right.
on blessing. What the
Yep.
Bible says, be blessed to be a blessing.
Yep.
It is our
A-
job to give.
Yeah, and the word promises that he will always give seed to the sower. So
So,
if you are a sower, the Lord, the scriptures promises that you will always have a seed in your pocket. And we're just teaching people to think kingdom finance. Think the way of the kingdom. And it's been a really good series. We have 1 week down, and later on next week we have professionals, banking professionals coming. They're going to be able to take appointments. People are going to be able to set appointments to talk about their personal finances. If folks don't own a home, we'll be able to get them on our first time buyers program, and just kind of helping people. Some folks still don't operate with a functioning budget. We'll help you do that. All of that so that you can be an active and generous member of the kingdom of heaven.
what happens when you are disciplined in what you do in your finances? You'll be able
Right.
to bless more people when you're disciplined. That's the thing.
That's right.
When you're not disciplined is where you say you don't have any. When
Yep.
you're disciplined and you set a budget, you'll be able to give more than what you think. you know. And so on this Friday, listen, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but Friday,
Yep.
oh my God, listen, invite everybody. You know what I think? Invite your kids, invite your wives, invite them. Listen, invite them. This is gonna be such a powerful revival service this
Yep.
Friday at 7 o'clock. And let me tell you something. You see this man right there,
Yeah.
Pastor Ego. Oh my goodness, be ready. Be ready. He's the man with the bow ties. I never
He,
seen
he,
anybody with as many bow ties, and bow ties I've never seen before like him.
no, and they're complicated. You could tell that those are not the ones that
No,
you buy. He makes those. He has to make them.
uh-huh. Yep, yep.
And
Listen,
the other thing
and they're
about him,
wonderful.
and the other thing about him is that what does he got when he comes to our church? What
He's
does he
got
bring?
he's got a mobile pulpit because he whenever he walks with it. That
His
so
pulpit
the
on
word never
wheels.
leaves. Wait a minute. This is a good scene here. The word never leaves him because he takes it with him. He walks with
That's
it.
right.
Even when he's preaching, he's walking with the word. It's
Well,
amazing. I've never
he's a
seen that in my
dear
life until I met him.
he's a
It's
dear
amazing.
friend, and he's anointed, and I know that he's going to be just a
Oh my
phenomenal
God.
revivalist for us. We've been doing the praying, we've been doing the things that can lead up to it, and we're just believing for an amazing move of the
Yes.
power of God to impact folks on this coming Friday.
Yeah. Listen, invite your family, invite your kids, man. Just tell your
Yeah,
kids, listen, for one day, because I know what's going to happen. I know exactly what's going to happen because I
what's
tell
going to
you
happen?
what, when they walk in, whoever walks in there and hasn't been there in a while, oh man, the Spirit of God is going to cut right to the heart. Remember, He's going to cut
Yeah,
right to the heart, man. And it's going to be such a powerful night, man. We're going to have a wonderful time. And
yeah,
then
we are.
Saturday morning at 11 o'clock at Lincoln Woods, we're going to have a service. In Spanish, it's called aire libre, means like out in the open, out in the
Yep,
public. We're going to have a service and a baptism. And guess what our prayer is? We're going to hope that people that don't know God are going to say, I want to give my life to Christ, and we'll baptize them too.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
we're doing an outside public baptism in a lake. We haven't done that. I haven't done that in years. We've been at the church baptizing in the pool that we have, but just we just felt led to just do this one outside in the public in a lake. Weather's going to be nice. It's going to be clear. It's going to be close to 80. So it's going to be a perfect day. And so we have a good group of people that are getting ready to get baptized on Thursday. Deke, you've got a class that you'll be sharing with
Yeah,
everybody
I'm gonna
online
call
on Zoom.
everyone. It'll probably be around 7 or 6, but I'll call everyone and let them know. But listen, be ready, be ready. This class is important. I
Yep.
want you to take in and understand the reason. I want to hear it from you. Why? That's my point. So that way the world can know why.
That's
Because
right.
it's all about Jesus. It's about God. And look at this. Back to school Sunday, August 25th. This is where we we bless the kids with backpacks so that they're ready to have all the tools they need for when they go back to school.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
we'll have our beautiful Sunday service.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Woo! That's gonna fire up the end of the 21 days. But guess what? I don't think that revival's stopping there. I think revival is just beginning. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, man, God is doing. Listen, I told the kids that were worshiping, and God is just doing something phenomenal every Sunday. It's not the same. It's different, but it's powerful. The Holy Spirit is moving, and lives are really being changed. And I've noticed people worshiping more than ever on Sundays.
Yep, for sure.
And man, God is good.
Yep, for sure. Now, what we want folks to remember is this coming after we finish the 21 days of fasting and praying, we continue to stay on. We continue to stay on the line at 6:30.
Yes.
We pray 365. The church is praying
Right.
365 days every morning at 6:30. So we encourage people to keep going even beyond that.
And it's been going on for years. So
Yep. If you're on, we really want this show, the podcast, to be super interactive. And so if you're watching and you have a comment, please make your comment on Facebook, on YouTube, and it'll appear right on the screen for us and our guest, who is patiently waiting right now. And I think it's time to bring our guest on. We have, I was thinking about, man, who can we have on the podcast? And a blast from the past came to me. His name is Scott Larson. I think I did ministry with him when I was a youth pastor. That means it was over 20 years ago.
Wow.
So I've been pastoring at Vida for 20 years. So this was over 20 years ago that I met Scott Larson. We're going to talk about a little bit of that. But first, I thought we'd show you a little bit of video of his ministry before we bring him on. A powerful ministry called Straight Ahead. Get your friends to watch this. Get on, watch this beautiful video, and then we'll be back with Scott Larson live.
I was 5 years old. My mother was homeless, you know what I'm saying? So
my first memory was my mom holding my head underwater in the bathtub.
I seen people in gangs. That was my family, so I got down. I started doing drugs, started selling drugs, drinking, having sex early. I got pregnant at 14.
Gelling for no man at all, especially, a 17-year-old kid. I hope I just let it see another day, you know what I'm saying?
When I got my daughter taken away from me and I started doing coke again, I think that was like the lowest for me because I was so strung out on drugs. Like I really couldn't focus. I couldn't get my priorities straight.
I ended up getting locked up when I was 13 years old in California. So I ended up living in and out of lockup. When I was 14, I ran away from California to Massachusetts.
Straight Ahead Ministries has always been about seeing Jesus transform the lives of juvenile offenders. When we get to see yesterday's delinquents become tomorrow's leaders, then we really see God complete His great work.
So when Sheila Ray came and she shared her testimony is when I decided to give my life to Christ, and that was over 2 years ago. Being here at Straight Ahead, they gave me opportunities to grow and to grow in my purpose and grow in who I am in God.
I want to work with juvenile delinquents like myself. I want to work with girls and boys in my situation because you don't have a lot of that. And I really want to be able to say I did it so you can.
I'm saying I have dreams of being successful, I have dreams of having these things, but we can't get to that certain place to take us there. 10 years from now, I want to have my own house. Hopefully I can start a family.
When God gets a hold of a life and begins to change that and alter them toward a vision that's a lot bigger than just saying no to drugs or just saying no to crime, to actually saying yes to calling that is in them even before they were born, things begin to change. Communities change, families change, whole systems change. Straight Ahead's possible because of people like you who get behind this mission. It really is what makes the difference.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
That is amazing. Well, with that, let's bring on our very special guest today, Dr. Scott
Hey.
Larson. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
Hey,
There
good
he
to
is.
see you.
Oh, wait a minute.
I've been
Listen,
listening
I,
to you. Good to be
Huh?
in the room.
well, I forgot to give you my big applause.
Hey,
There
there it
There
is. Hey. Doctor.
Thank you so much for being with us, my friend. It's been several years that I don't see you, but I have been kind of keeping tabs on you on Facebook and seeing what God's been doing through your ministry, and I'm just in awe
Been a
of what you've
while,
been able to
man.
do.
You come in there and sing in that
Yeah.
traveling band. Was it the Gonzalez band? What did you guys go by back then?
Yeah, we were the Gonzalez brothers. We did
Yeah.
that, and then when that stopped, I started going with my youth band. My youth band. I'd go with man Jahira. I had Jahira was a little Spitfire girl that could really sing, and my little nephew who was like 15 on the drums, and we would go in there and rock out. Man, we had a good time.
Well, they're still waiting for you. You know?
Listen,
Still open.
listen. One
It's
of the things that I hope.
it's an open door in jail, but it's a one-way open door.
That's right.
Easy to
Yeah.
get in. Well, not easy to get in, but
Yeah.
it can be had. So
Yeah.
it makes a big difference when people come in from the outside, and
Mhm.
not many people are thinking about these kids.
Mhm.
They're seen as problems to be solved or people to be changed. But from the very beginning, God spoke it to me. These are the leaders that are meant to be invested in, and the leadership called out in there. And I've never seen them as problems, and they're solutions.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
said you said one. There was something you said there, and I read it. It said, "Once they're in, they are out of sight and out of mind,
But not
That
out
is-
of reach.
they're not
But
out of
not
reach."
out of reach.
But think about the mentality of the person who is not a Christian and seeking to help them. That once they're in, they're forgotten about.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. One kid told me, I'd rather be wanted for murder than not wanted at all. And it's sort of,
Wow.
it says it, and so when people come in, it makes a big difference. And I think about I've been reading through the book of Acts in the morning, and the last words Jesus speaks that we have recorded are in Acts, not in the Gospels. Acts 1:8, you'll be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, uttermost parts of the world. And Samaria, that's this place, the outcast, the one that people didn't want to go there. Jesus went there, and John chapter 4 is the longest encounter we ever had with a recorded encounter where a whole city comes to faith because of that one woman at the well. And then, I was reading today where Jesus said, go into Samaria, but they didn't until persecution hit the church. And then Philip went, and so many miracles broke out there that they had to call in Peter and John. It's always a fruitful place. And interestingly, Acts 2 and 4, the Lord added to their number to daily those being saved. But when Saul of Tarsus flipped, in Acts chapter 9, who was the biggest problem for the church, then it says the church started to multiply.
Mm-hmm.
I think these young people are part of that kingdom work. When they come, they bring a lot of people with them. And if you can sell drugs when half the people are out there trying to kill you, they're half trying to arrest you, and you can still make it, you got some leadership skills. And it's the church's call to go to Samaria. Samaritans don't come to us. We go into territory.
Good.
We're not thinking
that's
of a place. We're missing something of Acts chapter 1:8. Don't go to the uttermost parts of the world if you're skipping over Samaria.
Wow.
And it's right in our backyard.
It is.
It's right in our backyard. And when in the story of when Jesus is speaking to the people, and he says, well, you saw me naked and you didn't clothe me. You saw me hungry and you didn't feed me. I was in prison and you didn't visit me. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. The call of the believer. This is, of course, the widows and orphans, but there's the call right there for us.
Oh, yeah. And so when did we see you? When did we not see you?
Yeah.
Whatever you did to the least of these, you did to me.
Yeah.
And you lend to the poor. You give to the poor. You lend to the Lord. You feed the hungry. You feed Jesus. I think that's why Mother Teresa said, "I never met a poor person. Only images of Jesus." And if you get that, Jesus is not far away either. That's where he is.
Yeah.
People say, "Well, where's God?" Well, he's clear about it. He shows up in that space. And
Scott, let's start a little bit. Talk about where were you born? Where were you raised?
I come from Minnesota.
Okay.
Minnesota.
That's
Yeah.
where that
Cold
accent's
in
from.
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota.
You never developed the New England accent.
Thank you. I've been here. Yeah, I came here 37 years ago. Go to seminary. I was a stockbroker there, and started to take my vacation smuggling Bibles into China and Russia when I was.
Come on.
When I was a stockbroker, early 20s, and I'd had the first of many midlife crises at about 24. I've had a lot of them, but that one was, if this is all there is. I was a Christian. I was making money. I was given, my tithe, but my dream was, just to make a lot of money. It was probably the definition, I got from my father of what a man is. Most of us weren't taught what a man is, but we picked it up.
Yeah.
And I knew from my dad, you make a lot of money, you're a man. And I was on that track. And then it was like, if this is all there is, I'm not sure it's enough for me.
Wow.
And I started volunteering with kids, high school kids, and going to China and smuggling Bibles. And in Russia, I got arrested there, and seeing God's power move. And I wasn't even sure I was a Christian, like I was with these underground believers who were, praying about where to meet, and the Holy Spirit bringing them. And I came back, and it was a crisis. Like, what am I going to do? And God used that to call me to leave my job. And it was a great job. I was making more money at 25 than I'm making today, but it wasn't what I was to be about. God, sometimes he takes you to the bottom, and then you find him, and sometimes he like gives you your dreams, and then you're like, well, I don't know if this was the right dream,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went to seminary, and I knew I was supposed to work with leadership youth. And my wife's from Denmark, and she had been working with inner city kids and in the juvenile facilities and Native American housing projects in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And so she launched the ministry out here in 1987, got permission to do the very first Bible study. They didn't used to allow them in the juvenile facilities here in New England. And we were just meeting for coffee with the guy who is a retired psychologist who let her in for that first time in Westboro. That's where the first juvenile jail in the country was in Westboro, Massachusetts, the Lyman School, back in the 1800s, the late 1800s. And so that was the very place we had the first Bible study. There were 15 boys in the detention center, and 12 of them signed up for Bible study. And so even though all the clinicians were worried about what was going to be said and nobody would be interested, they were surprised. And then they saw that, well, these kids act better on Thursday and Friday after they go to a Wednesday Bible study. And we call it Bible discussion. Wow. And so they wanted it other places, not because they were trying to give them religion or thought, but they just saw that was making a difference.
Yeah. Wow. It was visible. Now, you glazed over a couple of things that I wanted to ask you about. You had a heart for people. You went to Russia and communist China and smuggled Bibles.
That's insane.
And what's interesting to me, it says you're not sure you really knew Jesus at that time.
Oh.
Well, when I encountered the underground church, I was like, oh, this is what it is to be a Christian. You know? You pray and God leads you. You go to prison. I met a guy that came out of prison, this pastor. I was at this underground meeting, and I'd never been in an environment like that. Everybody's just praying at once out loud and praying in tongues, and they were just calling out to God. And I heard about this pastor. I got with him. I said, what was it like to be in prison? He said, God's been very good to me. And
Wow.
and I was like,
Wow.
you know, the book of Acts just seemed more relevant over there than what my experience had been. And so that really messed me up in a good way. You know, it's like I just want to follow what God has, you know, and I've seen God work, and I was arrested, and they searched our suitcases and couldn't find anything. They were filled with Bibles, and, you know,
You
just
got
stuff like
arrested
that.
in you got arrested in Russia?
Russia.
I got arrested in China and then in
Oh.
Russia also,
So,
back to the USSR. Um,
Oof.
oh wow.
yeah, and they'd search us and they'd let us go. And I got a letter in the mail. So I lived in a little town called Hollandale, Minnesota. It was like 300 people. And this letter comes from Hollyday, USA. So I was in Hollandale, Minnesota. All it says is Scott Larson, Hollyday, USA. It makes it to my house. The Russian authorities. This was in 1986. And they said, you've been found guilty. You can't
Oh
come
wow.
So
Oh, they
you
said
can't come
he
back.
can't go back.
back.
He
I
can't
didn't show up for the trial. I was only there for a month. And we would
Wow.
meet with underground Christians, and we would give them Bibles, and this network would then, you know, especially in China, they would tear out pages of it and people would copy it and transfer it around and all that kind of thing.
How was the just kind of give us a little visual of the underground? Because, you know, in the Bible, it used to say when Paul and them were in jail, it was like the worst part. It was, you know, it was down, it was deep, it was cellar, you know. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about these undergrounds, I like to get a kind of a picture of what that looked like. I mean, you were there.
Yeah. So I wasn't in one of the prisons, but I was arrested. And then they questioned, searched, and then they released us. And, you know, gave us a court date kind of thing. But then we were moving on to the next city. And so, yeah, when I was in China and near Mongolia, we were on a train and we were giving out little books about Jesus. And when the train, we came to the destination, the police were there. And then they took the head of our group. And so they took us to a place to be searched. And they charged us for overweight luggage because it was full of Bibles. But when they searched it, they couldn't find anything, you know. So God made seeing eyes blind, and that was just never part of my Christian walk or experience.
Yeah.
So when I said I wasn't sure I was a Christian, you know, up against these guys, but I was, of course, I was. But my experience was so different. I couldn't go back and live the same way. And it was like, God, what do you have for me? I know you've got something. And it was clear he was calling me to work with leadership youth. And so I came here, went to seminary, Gordon Conwell, and I was leading a youth group. And Hannah, my wife, started this ministry. And I came in one time after she'd been there a couple months, 1987, and her partner, Bible study partner, was on vacation, and she asked me to go in. I was like, well, you know, what are you going to say? No to your wife, you know, going into a jail? What kind of schmuck are you? So I went in, and this kid, Ricky Bermudez, who's 14 years old from Worcester, he asked if I was a Bible study leader. I said, yeah. He said, well, can you pray for me? I said, yeah, what do you want to pray for? I got court tomorrow. Oh, okay, so you want to beat the case. He said, no, pray that I tell the truth.
Wow. Wow.
You a lawyer about this? And he said, yeah. He swore at me. He said, I could do 2 years. I said, well, Ricky, you know, you can't be just thinking God's going to get you out of this thing. He said, no, but you gave me a Bible. It says you're supposed to tell the truth, right? I said, yeah. I'm thinking, you know, what it took for my wife to get in there. And now he's going against his lawyer. I'm thinking all that kind of stuff. And Ricky's thinking, you know, aren't you supposed to tell the truth? And
Yeah.
I came in this way, and I gave my life to Jesus, and he said, you know, I don't want to go back to that. So
wow.
I told him I'll be praying for you. My commitment was for 1 week in 1987, but now I came back, you know, to see if he was still there, and he was. And I said, would you go to court? Yeah. He said, would the What'd you do? I pled guilty. What'd your lawyer say? He swore at me. And then, now what? I said, he said he had his 5.5 months. He had to go to Superior Court for his sentencing to be tried as an adult. And so I was going in every week because he's only, 14 years old, kid from Worcester. His mother moved to New York right after. And so to try to get him ready for what was ahead. And during that 5.5 months, God was just stirring my heart. Like, I didn't know too many 15-year-old, 14-year-olds willing to put it on the line like that. And we went to his sentencing, and the judge asked him why he didn't follow, his lawyer. And he told her he was trying to follow God. And she said, well, I'm going to do something I've never done and keep you in the juvenile system till you're 21.
Wow.
And so he had a big impact on us. And I knew those were the leadership youth I was called to work with. And then several months later at that same place, met a young man named Thomas Jefferson from Boston, from Roxbury. And he was talking about turning 18 and that, is there a place he could go? Because if he goes back to Roxbury, a lot of people want to kill him. And I said, well, Teen Challenge, or he said, I've been in, what's that? I told him, he said, well, that's like a group home. I was raised in group homes. He said, I need like a family. And so I was trying to ask around who's willing to take in an 18-year-old gangbanger from Roxbury, and nobody.
Not a lot of
We were living in a
people.
little apartment in the church, and he got out, and about a couple of weeks later, one of the staff asked, did you hear about Thomas Jefferson? He said, no. He said, yeah, it was a little blurb in the Boston Globe. He was found castrated, shot in the back of the head by a rival gang.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I never forgot that either. So, God, I'm not going to keep telling kids there's some way out when there's no way out, But God stirred that in our hearts, that that's what he was calling us to do, is to make a home for guys like Thomas. And so in 1990, we opened a home and then started taking in 7 boys at a time that were transitioning out of lockup but didn't want to go back. And this weekend, one of those young men, his wife and 4 kids, was up for the weekend. I did their wedding years ago. He's a lawyer now.
Wow.
In New Jersey. He manages one of the largest agencies, youth-serving agencies. They have 450 employees, and this guy's the CEO.
Wow.
And he was in for a gang murder when he was 14.
Whew. Can he do it?
Yes,
Yeah.
he will.
He can.
Well, he was there. He was there. It was a white kid in an Asian gang, but he turned state's evidence, which put him at high risk. And he was, charged as being an accomplice. But he had a lawyer that got him tried as a juvenile, and now he went to Wheaton College and on a scholarship from Chuck Colson. And he's in his 40s now, and he's on our board, so he's my boss.
Wow.
Look at that. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so
That's
these
just
guys,
so
the
amazing.
kingdom is caught up in them. It's always been God's purpose, right? To
Incredible.
the lowest things of the world and use them to confound the wise. It's no
right.
surprise.
Couple things I want to say. People that have been commenting. One of our ministers is saying, "Love how the scriptures align with what we've been doing over in this sermon series and in the past few months. God's really doing something in this theme, and it really kind of is on that. And then, of course, my wife is saying hello to you, Scott. She's saying." Happy to see you. I got to update you on her. She's the vice president of the city council here in Woonsocket.
What?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So she's your boss too.
She's always been that. So
She's always been that.
but we have a question here
Wow.
from Roger, and I thought that we might want to talk about this. Gentlemen, to what do you attribute churches doing the bare minimum in these times? It seems as the body of Christ, we're operating in silos. I'd love to hear your take. What do you think about that, Dr.?
Yeah. Well, I think it's got us fighting the wrong battles, right? And I think it comes down to having a vision bigger. It's like a church that is focused inward will fight over every crazy thing, color of the carpet, you name it. There's an energy, right? And if it's not focused outward, it turns deadly. And in the body of Christ is the same kind of thing. And it sometimes, I mean, it's frightening, but you think about that early church, the persecution is when they finally went out, right? And when they went out,
that's right.
That's where they, into Samaria and all over, that's where God showed up. I mean, and I don't know that we have to get persecuted to get about the work of God, but we definitely have to get intentional. And the body of Christ, we don't have to be all the same to have unity, but we need to be moving in the same direction.
That's right.
Yeah. Toward Christ and toward those that his heart, who is it? The poor, the sick, the orphan, the widow, the in prison, and the foreigner,
Right.
That's right.
Those 6 people, Isaiah 58, that's a true fast. Don't fast to me, and then go about all your injustice. I don't want to hear it, but break the yoke of injustice, and then it'll break forth. Your light will shine.
So to Roger's question, as having been in this space for 40 years, nearly 40 years, what do you see the church? How do you see the church responding to the need, specifically to teens in prison? And what do you think are the things that are holding us back from becoming a bigger part of what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I think it takes somebody in a church, as they move out into spaces like this, it brings the energy back into the church. They're seen as missionaries, and maybe the church takes on a juvenile facility for holidays, or bringing their worship team in, or I mean, that's what our job is straight ahead, is to be a conduit between those two worlds, because they really need each other. And then people catch that, and they see God moving, and they want to be a part of it. But it's scary, to go into spaces that seem dangerous. What if my kids get corrupted? What if, these kids? A friend of mine said, the book of Acts is similar. They pray all night in a prayer meeting for Peter, and then when he gets out of jail and knocks on the door, they won't let him in.
That's pretty good.
Oh wow. Oh man, you're gonna bring some more problems over here, Peter.
That's great.
I get it. I mean, I get it. It's unknown. It's scary. But it's proximity, right? Until you get in proximity with somebody, then they become people, and they become not projects even. They teach us. They have something to give us, and I think as long as, for me, there's something that I have to learn from them and gain from them, I never get burned out. But if I feel like it's my responsibility to change them or fix them, I can't even fix myself. Who am I going to go out and try to fix some kid? I'll burn out quick.
Yeah.
When, I mean, because we're talking about this, but how did Straight Ahead begin? Like, we can visit sometimes. What caused you to just make this a little bigger than what it is?
Yeah. How did it go from the Bible study that you did to Straight Ahead? And I know that having watched, I've seen it grow, and you just kind of continue to grow and grow and grow.
Yeah. So, when my wife started, with one place, and then another and a third, and that would have been her. She'd be happy to keep doing that. She's like a shepherd in with a small group deep. And then when I think God called me to work with this leadership group, then I, could see it. Wow, what if we were all through New England? And we started to work on that, and then heard people like Thomas Jefferson and, talk about a place, and then we opened a home and lived there with these kids. And then there were more that were going back than we could take in a home, and started to open up reentry centers. Now we're in Springfield, Brockton, Boston, Lawrence, New Bedford, and Worcester.
Wow.
And most of the staff have come up through themselves.
That's beautiful.
They're the second generation of this. And so I guess it didn't come from a strategic plan, but like, what's the next invitation? Like, and a lot of those came from the youth telling us what it is that they felt they needed and wanted. Yeah.
The thing I love the most is that it's the ones that were in are the ones that are teaching now, because I think they connect easier or more. They'll connect with them more because they've been through what they've been through. Yeah. And they know what they need because they were feeling the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, my role has been to, my gift is I'm a connector, I'm a promoter, but making a way for other people who it's really their thing. If it's not owned by people who came up through, then it's what's different than colonizing people, or right? Like, I try to get out of the way, and but I do have influence, and I have access to funding and other things, and use those things to bring into the sphere. Sometimes people who have the call and the gifts to do it, they don't have the connections or whatever, so we all play a part, but my part is get out of the way sometimes. Bring what you can and get out of the way. Sadly, the people that run the lives of those in prison are not people who understand them very well. They're white professional people for the most part, and so
do my job and get out.
Do
my job and get out.
Make a way with people I might have influence over. But now, I'm still involved, too, which I'm grateful I can be with kids.
But you also do training. You train organizations. You train people. I remember a few years ago, boy, I can't remember how many years, maybe 8 or 9 years ago. You were at a little hotel place near Woonsocket here, doing some training for people all around. So you do a lot of that as well, right?
Yeah. We have a movement called Every Youth, Every Facility, where we there's about 1,250 juvenile jails across the country, and only about a third have any kind of spiritual programs.
Wow.
So we try to connect people who have a heart for this. We have a website called everyyouth.org to each other, give trainings, give everything away. Find those who have things. A lot of young hip hop artists that started off doing this kind of work and still have a heart for it, and connecting kids into that. A guy down in called Reconcile, Lonnie Lillard down in Miami, working with him to spread his influence out. He'd be a great guy to talk to sometime. Ronnie Lillard.
I'd love to talk to him.
Yeah. And so there's people who have a call to do this, but you can't pull it off by yourself. I don't think.
Yeah. Yep.
And we were looking for people when we started, and there were people doing adult prison ministry who took us under their wing, and a lot of people, gave their reputation on the line to open doors for us that we didn't have any credibility to get in.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the house that I went to. Do you remember the house that I went to years ago that had the freezing pool where I baptized people in that freezing water? Do you remember?
Ah,
Do you remember that? I remember meeting great kids, and we had a great. We did worship. We did worship. We did a Bible study, and then I had kids that I wanted to baptize, and then I think I baptized a couple of those kids too.
yeah.
That was
Was it
years
Bob
ago.
Clinkscale? Was it a Clinkscales in Framingham?
It might have been. I mean, it was beautiful out in the woods. It was a beautiful place,
Huh.
kind of remote, but
Yeah. Okay.
but
Okay.
but I do remember the impact it
Okay.
had on me to
Okay.
speak to these kids, and some of them, you know they were just fresh. They just gotten
Yeah.
there, and they hadn't accepted Christ. They're just kind of happy to have a place to go,
Yeah.
and that's what you kind of provide, right? It's
Yeah.
you certainly provide a path to Jesus. Your literature doesn't shy away from leading people to Christ, but
Yeah.
it's not that's not the only thing you do.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of what we do is um, help kids get job ready. You can
Yep.
get somebody a job, but it's interesting. Minnesota Department of Corrections asked people across the prison system there, what do they think they need to make it? 90% said a job. But then when they talked to people who had been out for a year and were making it, 87% said it was a new community, a positive relational community that
Yeah.
made the difference. And so jobs can be the carrot, but we know that, getting a job and keeping a job are two different things. And the system is really not set up for success. You get out, get an ankle bracelet, they call up your number, and you get a cell phone thing, your number to go and pee in a cup, for a drug test. If you're not there in an hour, you're AWOL. So if you got a job, you lose your job or you're going to be AWOL.
Mm.
So walking alongside, and we work with people who like homeless shelters, and we say we'll put our kids to work there and we'll pay them, but they get used to showing up every day. When still half the people are, you still got your enemies and maybe your friends you've walked away from, and the police are still after you. It's not an easy thing, and you got a record, and you go to try to get an ID, but you owe $600 at the RMV because of fines, and it's like you never got an ID card. It's just like, how long are you going to keep doing that when you know how to make $3,000 on a night slinging? It's just,
That's right.
Yeah.
you can't blame people. I mean, so unless you got someone walking with you another way, and you got a group of people who are going that way, it's just too easy to go back to what we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was looking at some numbers when I was reading a thing. It says like 450,000 youth are connected with juvenile justice system. 450,000 youth.
Yeah.
That is like, if we really thought about that, all these young kids, these young kids that are just lost.
Yeah.
They're lost.
Yeah. Well, one of the guys on our board, Dean Trulier, he was a pastor that went to prison himself, his alcoholism, and now he's a professor at Howard University and at their seminary. And when he goes around, he does these things called healing communities, helping churches think about prison ministry, not as a mission outreach, but as a pastoral ministry, just like shut-ins. You mentioned in Matthew 25, visit the prisoners and the sick. They're in the same category.
Yeah.
You wouldn't farm out your people in the hospital to do another ministry. And then he does altar calls in churches. You should try it sometime. Everybody who has a family member who's somehow connected to the prison system, come forward. It's shame, right?
Wow.
But when you see someone start to come forward, most of the people do. Might be a child, a nephew, could be a parent. I mean, this is where you get into the whole disproportionate racial profiling that has, 1 out of 6 African Americans in the prison system. And one study I saw in major cities, half of Black young men between 18 and 28 are either in prison on parole or awaiting trial.
My goodness.
It's like one in 7 Latino, and then white, it's like 1 in 16. And then for people who do the same crime, the numbers are heavily skewed for Black and brown people to end up going to prison as opposed to getting
same crime, but if they're white,
same crime.
Yep.
So your church is already heavily impacted. The U.S. has 5% of the world's population, but they have 25% of the world's prisoners. No other country close to what we do, incarcerate people. And so thinking about this as this is our church. It's not those people over there that we're trying to help. I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Every time I look at this, it's staggering. It's staggering that like 80% of young people who get arrested will get arrested again. 80% is huge.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I tell kids, you're very valuable. I don't know how valuable you realize, but how much you think it costs to lock you up in Massachusetts? It's about $500,000 a year.
My goodness.
And so you're very valuable if you keep coming back here. That's a lot of jobs, But is that what you want to be? I mean, think about a life of crime. Do that for 10 years. That's $5 million.
Oh, my goodness.
Every system is designed to get the result it gets. So nobody's going to cry too much if you keep coming back here. But is that how you want to spend your life? And here's how the system keeps you coming back. Every system designed to get the result it gets. Everything you're focused on is the things you're not supposed to do. You sign a thing, I won't gangbang, won't do drugs, won't hang around with those people. So where do you think you're going to go if that's what you're focused on? Yeah. It's like driving a car looking backwards. You're never going to get away from it. Mm-hmm. Without a vision, the proverb says, without a vision, people cast off restraint. A vision, it restrains you. If you don't restrain yourself, everybody else is going to restrain you. But when you get a bigger vision, now, that changes things. But the system is just focused on what you're not supposed to do. Nobody's making this plan up in a high place, maybe the devil, but the system is perpetuating itself to keep people coming back. And it's a good business model. If you got any business with 80% returnees at that kind of profit,
you never go broke.
In a year,
that's a big business. Yeah,
that's a system, man. If 1/3 of your Val knows this, right? 1/3 of every governmental system is spent on police, on prison. That's a lot of money that goes into trying to manage people's behavior. Yeah. And a vision breaks it.
That's right.
That's right.
Give people a hope and pull the passion out of them. And like the kid who's a lawyer now, I met him. I asked him at the first Bible study, and I asked him, "What do you want to do with your life?" He said, "Well, I don't know." He said, "I could do 20 years." So, well, what do you want to do? He said, "I want to be a lawyer, like my lawyer was for me." He said he comes in and sees me even when not about my case. He calls me Tiger. He's like my father.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the verse I think about. 1 Corinthians 4:15. You might have had 10,000 teachers, but not many fathers.
Not many fathers.
Ooh.
That's not many fathers.
He took a question. He took one of my questions from me because my last question for you, it was going to be, what do you think the percentage of all these kids are fatherless?
Oh,
because that's powerful.
Yeah. Well, I would say 90%. But here's the scary part. More and more are motherless. So if you got to choose one, I try to get a mom, But so many of these kids, their mothers, they think about it, the crack cocaine epidemic and all that. You know, the force of the grandmother. Now these grandmothers are like 38 years old, 40 years old, and
Yeah.
they're still struggling. Now you lost when you lose the mother, then you got a lot of attachment disorder. That's where that kind of thing comes. Father, you don't have a father, you got this authority issues and this deep-seated anger and identity, don't know who you are, and lack of restraint. But when a mother's gone, now you don't have attachment. It's like, that's really scary. The number of kids who are raised with a mother that's an addict, the grandmother's trying to raise them. Grandmothers are, the strength of the African American community is the grandmother, but that's going away.
Yeah.
That's going away.
It's alarming stuff.
I'm more scared of motherless homes because that's now taken over.
Yeah. It used to be.
Yeah, you got it. Fatherless is a big deal. But
It used to be that at least they'd have a mom, but
Yeah.
now you're saying they don't even have that.
Ugh.
yeah, they don't have that. You talk to these kids, they don't have it. Most of them are a grandmother, sometimes an aunt, sometimes a sister takes them in. Mother in prison, addicted. And it takes a lot to separate a mother from her child, but drugs do that.
They can do it. Scott, so if there's some pastors watching, friends that might watch later on, how can they connect to you? What can they do? What are the kinds of things that churches can partner with you to do?
Yeah, well, I think you've been in the Rhode Island training school down there.
I have
Pastor
been,
Luke
yeah.
Hoffman, he was
Yeah.
there for so many years. He died
Yeah.
last summer,
He did, yeah.
and it's left a big hole. But Brockton, in your area, you could connect with us. Just Scott@straightahead.org, and I can put you in touch with staff who can put you in touch with how to get involved in reentry or in juvenile facilities.
Yep.
In your area. There's stuff that you can do, and it doesn't have to be a Bible study. It could be, going in and do a birthday party once a month for kids. Bring something in from your church to do a Christmas parties. Bring in gifts. Yeah, there's something for everybody.
Yeah.
So
Well,
straightahead.org is our website, and you can reach me, Scott@straightahead.org.
And I hope folks do it. And if you're an individual and want to connect, sometimes all it takes is one person in the church to say yes, and then share that vision with your leaders, your pastors, and if you're willing to make it happen, most pastors will try to give you the resources so that you can do it. Pastors can't do it all, but if they have volunteers that are willing. Now, Deacon Elliott knows this because at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of this year, I gave my deacons 3 challenges, and one of them was, what are we going to do about prison ministry? How are we going to respond to the problem? How are we going to answer this call? And then a couple months later, the Lord put you in my heart to have you here, and so hopefully what will come out of this is that our church, Vida Church, will find a way to get connected again to Straight Ahead and do something here near us.
Yeah, and the adult prison system, boy, that's so right too. The county jails are mushrooming. They're putting less and less kids in juvenile facilities because it's so expensive and they get worse. So, at least the right and the left can agree on that.
because the kids, it doesn't help them. It makes them
It's not
worse.
helping them. They get worse. They get deviant coaching, as they say. But they're just putting them on ankle monitoring bracelets and in the community. And so that's not helping them either.
Yeah.
But the adult county jails, they're like mushrooming. In county jails, a third of the people that are there just because they can't meet, 300 hours of bail. It's like where mental health patients end up, homeless people. It's just awful, and it's a terrible environment, And so churches can make a big difference going in there, and people that go in, they fall in love with it. You know, it's where God's heart. It's where God is. You know, it says, "I was in prison and you visited me." It's not like you're bringing Jesus there. He's already there.
Mm. Oh, that's
I
good.
love that.
That is good.
I love
That is
that.
so good. That is so
That's
good.
pretty good. Well, Scott, thank you, man, for spending time with us today.
Yeah,
I
great
I
talking to you
feel
guys.
I feel so. My heart is broken, to know that because when you don't think of it, and like you said, out of sight, out of mind, but today, the main phrase is, but not out of reach.
Reach.
We can still reach them.
Yeah.
We can still reach them, and
Yeah,
I
man.
hope that that's what we can do to respond, and everybody else that's
Man.
watching
Amen.
and will watch the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for all the information. Like it gives us a brighter perspective. It opens our minds to see, hey, these people need Jesus too.
Yeah.
They need Jesus too.
Yeah.
You know? And
They do.
and that's wonderful, man. Thank you for what you do, man. That's awesome.
Good seeing you guys. Bless you. Keep it up.
Bless you, man.
All right.
Love you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
We love you.
All right.
Okay.
Amen.
Wow.
Oh, man. Man. Oh,
How you like me now?
how you like me now, right? And you think about these kids. And they're just kids and they're babies. They're
Man,
babies.
what
Babies.
when you really sit and think about the impact that you can have in something like that,
Yeah.
there's no reason why we can't do something, especially around the holidays, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and something simple. He said, bring some gifts. You can do a worship service and bring them gifts. A birthday, bring a cake, a birthday party. I mean, they're checking, but we're still doing a birthday party. But the point is that they'll feel like they're loved, because I think that's what they want to be loved.
Yep.
They want to be loved.
Well, it seems as God is bringing really unique voices to the podcast, bringing these unique voices to the church, so that we can kind of round off the ministry. We want to be a ministry that we are an accepting community of believers that want to help people know God, find freedom, discover purpose, make a difference. But that's not just for the people that are coming in.
Yeah.
We want to be able to offer that. And I love what he said at the end.
Oh,
He said, "I was imprisoned, and so he's there.
he's already there.
He's already there.
He's
We
just
don't
waiting for
bring-
you to visit him.
We don't bring Christ with us. He's already there."
That's insane.
Man, that was so good.
Oh my goodness.
Loved it.
That's so good.
Well,
that's
my
really
friend, it's the end of another episode. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Thank you for those
Thank
in
you,
comments.
guys.
Roger,
My
Sharon,
goodness.
Minister Marielis, Z, Pastor Val, all of those people who cooperated by commenting. We love you. We thank you for watching us today.
We'll see you on Wednesday night. Come on, don't miss it. 7:00. Let's keep it going. Love you all. Thank you,
All right,
guys.
everybody. God bless you.